Hi everybody, welcome to my little tutorial about Linux commands and the command line on Linux. Today I'm going to show you a bit about Z, the Streamline editor, which is a little command that that should be installed on any Linux box that you have, even if it's just a minimal installation. Z is a command that you can use to modify or filter text files line-wise, so it operates on lines of text files, and I'm going to show you what you can do with it. It can be a very powerful tool. In this video I'm going to show you the very basics, and that consists of, in detail, first of all, the modes of operation, because there are some different ways you can invoke that, and that alters the way how it operates. Then I'm going to show you an example that explains how you can filter lines of a text file by the line number. So that's useful if you just want to see a certain part of a file, or if you want to filter out a certain part of a file. And then the next example is going to be how you can filter lines by content of a line, which is basically the same thing what the little command grep does, which I've covered in a different video briefly already. But I'd like to show you how you can do this with Z, because that makes clear how Z works. The next example is going to show you how you can remove text within a line. And finally, I'll show you how you can replace text within a line. So you can arbitrarily replace some parts of a line with some different text, so it's very powerful when you want to alter a text file and it has a certain pattern. Your modifications have a certain pattern, and you otherwise would have to open your usual text editor and go through line by line and have to do it manually. That helps you do this very quickly. And then I hopefully have shown you enough so that you can try your own examples at home and on your own system, and hopefully that's going to be fun for you. A little side note is, in this video I won't be covering regular expressions, because I think that's maybe a topic that should be covered on its own. So I'm going to make another video in which I go into the details of how to build regular expressions to recognize more complicated and variable parts of a text file. This first part will only cover the basics of how to call and invoke Z, just to make the basics clear. So then let's have a start. I've prepared a little file called my.csv or my.csv, which is basically a CSV file. You've probably come across this before. The first line contains the names of the comma-separated fields, which in the next lines shows there's data in each line, one record in each line. The first line being some kind of ID. It's just arbitrary data which I've put together. I've given it a quite useless name here, just test 1, 2, 3 and so on. Just as useless description, and then in the last field, which is called participants, there you can see several names separated by comma. Okay, so now what can we do with Z? As we've learned before, we can pipe file into Z, and I usually specify the R flag because that enables some extensions that are quite useful when dealing with Z. So I just always specify it, and so I'll do it here as well. Okay, so the basic way how that works is it expects some kind of expression here, some kind of command, set command, or several set commands even. And the default behavior is, when I don't specify any kind of expression, it just prints the input to the output. That's very simple. Another mode of operation is by specifying the n flag, which is just a negation. So by default nothing gets printed when you specify the n flag. Now back to the usual default without the n flag. What we can do now here is we can tell Z to only print or to take out some lines. Let's say we don't want to see lines 2 through 4. So what we can tell it is, hey, when you're at the second line, then don't print it. And don't print it until line 4, including line 4. And we specify D, that's the command, which is referring to delete. So we're telling it to delete these lines. So what should happen here now when we invoke this command is we should see the first line, we shouldn't see the second line, we shouldn't see the third line, and neither the fourth line. So what we should see is here the ID stuff, and then continuing with the line with the ID 4. By the way, these numbers here that I'm specifying don't have anything to do with these arbitrary ID numbers here. Z counts the lines internally, so it goes from line to line to line and then increments its internal counter. So, well, that seems like things worked. We see the first line, which specifies the field names, and then lines 2, 3 and 4 are missing, and the fifth line is there again. Now you can negate this by specifying the n flag, as we've seen above. It won't print a line by default then. And we can say, hey, when you're on lines 2 through 4, then please print it. And the P is not for please. The P is for print, and it seems that's working as well, because these are lines 2, 3 and 4 in the file. So it's just a negation of what we had before. Okay, so but there's another thing, or another mode of operation, as you can call it. You can not only specify the numbers, the line numbers, to define what you want to see in a file. You can also specify patterns, and this is the place where you could now insert regular expressions, but I won't here. I will just write some arbitrary strings here, like for example Frank, which occurs in some lines of our file. So what I'm telling that here is, hey, whenever you see the string Frank in a line, delete it. That means don't print it. So we shouldn't see line 2, 3, 5 and so on. Okay, this seems like it's working. So what Z did is go through a line, through every line or each line, and whenever it encounters the string Frank within that line, it deletes or doesn't print the line. And once more, just to make it clear, I think that's quite easy now, you can negate it again by just saying don't print anything by default, only when you see the string Frank in the line, print the stuff. And once again, this is just the negation of what we had before. Okay, so that's it, I think, for the modes of operation, if you will. I don't know if it's called like this in the manual page or something. I suppose it's not. I just wanted to make clear that that there are different ways of how you can address the contents of a file. Now what we've already seen is filtering lines by line number. I've showed you this, or the negation of that. I've also shown you filtering lines by content. That's what we did with this Frank stuff here, and the negation. So once again, this here, the negation of so when telling Z don't print anything by default, only print the line when this string Frank appears, is basically the same what the grep command does. That's exactly the same. However, Z is more flexible, and you can, as you can see, you can specify different things here, and yeah, so just wanted to point that out. Okay, so now let's get to the removing. How you can. I'll show you now how to remove text within a line. Let's say we have this usual stuff here, and now what the new concept that's being introduced now is the substitute command. It's like this, so that if you've seen Perl before, then you probably can resemble this because it's exactly the same syntax, like you would do this in Perl. So what this basically tells Z is, hey, now I have a substitute command for you, and you can tell it now between the first and second slash which text you're searching for, and to replace it with which text, like say Wayne. So what we should see now is our usual text file, and wherever Frank is occurred, the string Frank occurred, we should now instead see the string Wayne. And now you can see here there's Wayne, which wasn't there before. Here's Wayne, and wherever that once more here, and so on. 5 times in total. Okay, that's great. You can of course do some nothing. I don't know, just to show you something. Now you can see this occurrence of test has been replaced by nothing. That's what we specified here. We said substitute the string test with the string nothing. But as we see, it doesn't do this on the entire line, obviously, because here is the string test again, and it's still the string test, and didn't get substituted by our string nothing. That is because by default the substitute command only replaces the first occurrence of the string in a line, and then just stops and goes to the next line. We can alter this by flags. So after this last or the third slash, you can specify flags, certain flags, like for example the G flag, which means global, and that tells the substitute command to globally replace the string test with the string nothing on the entire line, like this. So now you see this, even the second occurrence of test got replaced by nothing. And by the way, this is case sensitive by default. So if you specify uppercase test, then it doesn't match and thus doesn't replace anything. You can also specify flag to tell it, hey, compare the stuff case insensitively, by specifying the I flag here. And then, once again, it's working, or it matches. Okay. That's the replacement. Well, I think I've skipped the removal. Basically, the removal of text is just by leaving this second or the replace text empty, so that simply removes the text, as you can see. And another thing that may be of interest is you can tell it to do your substitution only on some lines, like for example lines 2, 3 and 4. And now we can see that it, well, let's say 3 to 5. You can see it's not doing any replacement in line 1. Well, our search term doesn't even occur here, so it wouldn't replace anything anyway. So, but in second line it doesn't replace the test string. In line 3 it does, 4 and 5 it does, and then afterwards it doesn't again, because we told it, hey, apply this command here only to lines 3 throughout 5. By the way, there's a special syntax here. You can, for example, specify how many lines. So this means, hey, start at line 3 and then match or do this command for 3 more lines. Yeah, so as you can see, it starts in line 3, 4, 5, 6. And another special symbol is the $, which means the end of file. So you can specify this, and it starts at line 3 and goes through the entire file up to the end. Yeah, I think that's it for now regarding our basic set tutorial, and I hope you'll be watching the follow-up part, in which I'm going to explain some more interesting patterns here instead of static strings, and that's called regular expressions, with which you can define very clearly or very powerfully which strings you're interested in, or which strings you want to match. For now, thanks for watching.